Agencies should not be coming up with their own interpretations of what law is. We should be following our obligations under the law. We should be respecting the rule of law. We should be advancing cooperative federalism. It's time to go back to the basics to ensure we are delivering clean air, land, and water, but we're also unleashing energy dominance in this country, and we are powering the great American comeback. That's the priority at the EPA under President Trump.
Yeah. Can you just talk to us? Are you still a no? Is there anything?
They convinced me in there. I'm a no.
Is there anything?
Look what, let me, their own numbers. If the Republican plan passes under the rosiest assumptions, which aren't even true, we're going to add $328 billion to the deficit this year. We're going to add $295 billion to the deficit the year after that, and $242 billion to the deficit after that, under the rosiest assumptions. Why would I vote for that?
So are you solidly a no?
Yeah, they convinced me. I was a lean no until this meeting. Now I'm a no.
Mr. Musk has just been here 22 years, and he's a citizen of 3 countries. I always ask myself the question, with the damage he's doing here, when push comes to shove, which country is he loyalty to? South Africa? Canada? Or the United States? And he's only been a citizen, I'll say again, 22 years.
And if you look at that shoreline, look at that shoreline. Look, from Florida, well, most of it is, it's called America. And vast majority, like big numbers. So I'm just admiring it as I look at it. I'm getting teary-eyed, but I don't want you to say Trump broke down and started crying. No, how beautiful is that? Look at the shoreline. Look at that. That's America.
I don't deserve this. To die like this. I was building a house. Deserves got nothing to do with it. I'll see you in hell, William Money. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Unregulated podcast. This is episode number 219. Here on Thursday, February 27th, joining together in the AEA studios, I am your co-host, Tom Pyle.
And I'm Mike McKenna, and either I'm getting shorter or this microphone's getting taller. I can't figure out which here.
We swapped out the equipment, dude. It's
this,
much cleaner in
this
here.
Thing is for
streamlined.
This thing's for a damn giant.
It makes you sit up straight and have good posture.
It makes me stand up. I'm going to be standing here in a second or two.
All right. Lee Zeldin.
The world is not built for short people. I'm just telling you that right now.
Getting the EPA back to basics, following the law, following the law.
How sad is it that you got to say that now?
I really like that guy.
So do I.
I'm impressed. My suspicions, my hints about him for that role were right. He's not steeped in EPA world. It clears his vision.
Yeah, man.
And he's a lawyer.
I agree. It's all good.
Good choice. Good. We went from always Republicans picking the squishy, concession, moderate Republican.
Yeah, man. It was, we got in a bad trench there, right, for a long time where EPA was where you sent the moderate Republicans.
Yes.
Labor was where you sent the female nominees.
Yes.
And HUD is where you sent the black dudes. And I'm glad we're out of those trenches mostly. We're almost there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, for what you want to say about Scott Pruitt, for all his faults, that was the beginning of the change.
I think so too.
Right? That was the sort of
he was at least trying to break out of
ceremonial nod to we're not going to put the squishy dude there anymore or gal. Yeah. So Tom Massey was the sole no on the Republican budget that passed this week, the blueprint. Favorite line, I was a lean no before the meeting. Now I'm a no.
Yeah. But they went at the meeting. It's important to note they went through the numbers, and they're just like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
This is your weekly reminder that the United States Congress is not going to solve the debt problem in the United States. The bond market is going to solve the debt problem in the United States. And that means it's going to be a lot worse.
If we get some revenue in, that's good. So that's good.
Sure.
Look, Trump did his job. He got the holdovers to vote for the thing. Now we're live, right? So
I sure, whatever. I mean, I could make it simple for you.
I'm really looking forward to this because I want to do some work. I want to get this IRA repealed. So,
yeah, okay.
I have an aspirational goal here is to repeal the IRA.
You know what? It's cooperative federalism, Tom.
All right. The gentle lady who was flanked by 4 other Democrats and basically just accused a 22-year citizen of the United States, questioning their patriotism.
Yeah,
I don't. Do these people have staff?
I don't know. I think it's a.
Do you think that you would say, hey, you're basically just accusing every single person in this country who was not born
I was
here
going to say all these naturalized people
of being a potential traitor to their country?
Yeah,
That was Marcy Kaptur, by the way. So
really?
Yeah.
She's still in Congress?
Yes, believe it or not, she's still here.
I thought she was dead. Are you sure she's in Congress?
That was her, unless it was her ghost.
Okay.
So, yeah, not a good look. Not a good look.
Somebody should ask. Somebody should ask. Let's play this game. Marcy Kaptur's been in Congress for 400 years now. But I mean, I'm willing to bet you she's taken more votes that damage the country than Elon Musk has.
100%.
just a guess.
She was born here, so
is that okay?
Yeah, the Dems look lost to me.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I'm like, this is just the Trump administration and the Musk administration are reliably handing them talking points like every day. I'm just pick them up and go with them, boys. It's not that complicated.
There's too many to choose from. I think that's the
maybe. But look, when you are faced with a buffet, what do?
Feast.
Look for your first favorite one and get that plate first, and then come back.
Pile it up with the crab legs.
That, ladies and gentlemen, explain why there are 7 chins between the two of us.
Yeah. All right. Look at that shoreline. It's just, it's beautiful. We have so.
Where was he when he did this?
At the cabinet meeting. He had a big picture of the Gulf of America.
Oh, no.
In huge words. And he's like, look, it's. I'd almost cry, but then you'd accuse me of being, a wuss.
Soft.
So I want to settle this shoreline debate once and for all.
Go.
If you compare the shorelines of the U.S. and Mexico, the United States has roughly 1,600 miles of straight shoreline.
Yes.
To Mexico's roughly 1,700.
Yeah, it was about 100 miles.
However,
here comes the Trump stuff. Go ahead.
If you include all of the atolls, all of the...
If you include Louisiana, is what you're saying.
If you include all of the craziness...
Do we count the islands in the Mississippi River, too?
I'm just saying to you that there's a discussion about what to count in terms of shoreline. Right. You've got the,
I have avoided this topic.
You've got the Keys, you got the island, but...
I have avoided this topic.
So you can be right, and President Trump can also be right, depending on how you define shoreline.
Yeah, so here's the thing.
But they're roughly the same if you take everything out.
Of course, 1,600, 1,700, of course.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I've avoided this for like a month now, and maybe I shouldn't have.
But you have brought it up a couple times, so I wanted to have this out and get it over with.
For 2 reasons. First off, it makes everybody sound ridiculous. It's not the Gulf of America. It's never going to be the Gulf of America. It's the Gulf of Mexico. And if you're going to start renaming things, then guess what? The Democrats are going to come right in here and rename America.
Obama already did.
What did he rename?
He renamed Mount McKinley.
Well, in all fairness, the Alaskans asked him to do that. And Lisa Murkowski is still in favor of
I understand. But it was done already.
It was done. Anyway,
and we've named
two things. The first thing is it makes everybody sound ridiculous because it is ridiculous.
It's
and the second thing is just like the Muscapades, it's burning our political capital on nonsense. Yeah. We're going to need that sometime in the next 4 years, and we would have burnt it on nonsense like this. It doesn't change the world at all. It really doesn't.
It makes my heart melt. That's all. It's just beautiful.
It's just so ridiculous. I'm like, God almighty.
All right. I played a clip from one of my favorite films.
The Unforgiven.
Yes. For the purpose of announcing the unfortunate and yet strange death of Gene
What
Hackman.
happened? I saw the
I don't know.
I saw the 2 New York Times things that he's dead, and they ruled out
the wife
foul play.
and the dog. And the dog.
And the dog, right? Yeah, which means like it had to be somebody.
So,
a bear? Could a bear kill a dog and 2 humans at once?
I don't know. I'm
know
very
either.
puzzled by this.
I don't know.
I don't want to get into conjecture here, but like, could it have been like a weird, like, let's all die together thing?
Maybe.
I just
could it have been?
I can't put my finger on this.
Could have been some
gas leak,
automobile, truck.
but they were in the house.
Oh, were they in the house? I didn't know that. I thought
in the house.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know. All I know for sure is Gene Hackman was a 2-time Oscar winner and probably the second best actor of his generation after Bobby Duvall, right?
yeah,
And a legit American, right? He went off. He served in Korea. I mean, I don't know if you know the story with his dad.
no.
Dad basically left home one day to get groceries, never came back. He was like 12 years old. He said Hackman tells the story as the old man was driving away. He's like, I knew then I was the last we're ever going to see of him. I thought,
Wow. Okay.
I thought, holy mackerel, what does that do to you?
Yeah, that certainly has an influence. So, The French Connection, of course, your favorite Gene Hackman film.
Of course, man, it's New York. It's
Bonnie and Clyde, The
whenever-
Poseidon Adventure, Crimson Tide, Mississippi Burning, Unforgiven, Lex Luthor, of course, in Superman.
with the greatest line ever in the Superman series. After these guys blow through, it's the first Superman. These guys blow through and bust everything in the newsroom. There's like a door frame standing, and he turns the knob and he goes into this door frame. He's like, "You think with all this advanced intelligence, they'd figured out how to work a knob?" The movie you're missing is of course the single best sports film ever.
Oh, yeah, the Hoosiers, right?
Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to pull the speech out of that, but.
You should have.
Yeah,
It's
well.
much better. Much better.
All right. The quintessential everyman.
Yeah.
That was his moniker. So,
Yeah.
God rest your soul, Gene Hackman,
Yeah.
and your wife and your dog.
Eternal rest
Apparently.
grant unto them. Yeah. I hope whatever it wasn't painful.
Yeah. Any announcements from you, sir?
I want to thank everybody who noticed my birthday. How about if I say it that way?
My announcement was to wish you a happy birthday here on the air.
I'm profoundly uncomfortable with that, so I appreciate that.
A delicious
A friend of mine
fish and chips
a friend of mine took me out to dinner at the Dubliner.
dinner last night at our favorite haunt.
It was
The one that we forget is there.
Yeah.
As you reminded me.
every time we go, we're like, this is great. We should do it again.
Yeah.
So,
All right. In 1801, this happened. This happened in 1801.
John Adams left before Thomas Jefferson got inaugurated.
No, Washington, D.C. was placed under congressional jurisdiction on this day in 1801.
See, now that's the kind of thing I can get behind.
Well, the worst thing that happened was
Yeah. Yeah.
they experimented with this quote-unquote
This
home
this
rule
thing.
situation.
Yeah, it's
So,
unless you sell bullets and guns, it's been a failure.
yeah, we did get, if we were around during the Marion Barry days, we would have had plenty of podcast fodder. So,
Marion Barry.
all right, and, producer pulled this one up in 1942. It's obscure,
January
but
27, 1942.
yeah.
The German U-boat Das Macher was sunk off the coast of North Carolina.
You were close though, surprisingly close. The U.S. Navy's first aircraft carrier, the Langley, is sunk by Japanese warplanes, and all of its 32 aircraft are lost. The Langley was launched in 1912 as a naval collier coal transport ship.
Yep.
After World War I, it was converted into the Navy's first aircraft carrier and rechristened the Langley after aviation pioneer Samuel Pierpont Langley. It was also the Navy's first electrically propelled ship capable of speeds of 15 knots.
I didn't
So
know
there
any
you
of this
go.
stuff. There you go. So I wasn't too far off.
No, you were pretty close. Something sunk somewhere.
Some sunk somewhere at war thing.
West
Out there somewhere.
Pacific, Atlantic. All right. And in 1951, this had to happen because of the true dictator, president of the United States.
1951, this had to happen. Okay, the way that's constructed, I have no earthly idea what the hell we're talking about.
On this day, the 22nd Amendment, which effectively limited the number of terms a U.S. president may serve, was ratified.
Okay, so yeah, that was, of course, to stop the Roosevelts, and I was totally in favor of it. I was corrected. I wrote a column about George Washington on his birthday, and
which should be what it's called instead of President's Day.
Of course, George Washington's birthday. Which one of these presidents do you really want to celebrate? Seriously. And I wrote in it that he set the thing on he set the precedent for 2 terms, right? Because you refused to decline to run a third term, right? He said, no, 2's enough. We don't want to accrue any more power, right? And I said until, a precedent that stood until the Roosevelt showed up, because you remember Theodore Roosevelt ran for a 3rd term, and then Franklin, of course, ran and won 4 times. I got corrected by a reader, which is always my favorite corrections, because they always say the same thing. I read your stuff all the time and I love it. But
I always tell my kids, stop the sentence.
Yeah.
Before the but.
Yeah, stop the sentence. It's good advice. It's good advice. But this guy, he just said, hey man, I read your stuff. I read your stuff all the time. I love it. He says, but actually, U.S. Grant ran a 3rd time. He just wasn't nominated in 76. And he sought the nomination and was not granted it, which I did not know that. And I said, yet another reason for this Richmonder not to like U.S. Grant.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with the 2-term thing, although I've come to the conclusion now that we should truncate the time between the election result and the inauguration.
Well, we've already truncated it once.
I think it needs to come again. I think it needs to be shorter.
I wasn't. That would not be where I would go with that amendment. Where I would have gone was term limits on United States members of Congress.
Yeah, go back and forth on that.
I don't.
So
I don't.
We have term limits. They're called elections.
Same with president. How's that different?
Not much.
Okay.
All right, moving on. 1963. This seminal moment in Yankees history happened in 1963.
February 27th, 1963?
Yes, sir.
Well,
a gentleman by the name of Mickey Mantle.
So my mom went home from Queens Hospital.
Gentleman by the name of Mickey Mantle signed a baseball contract worth $100,000.
That's ridiculous. Which is probably nowadays worth like, $1.2 million or something. I mean, see,
Mickey Mantle. There's a great biography.
I mean, what would Mantle make if he was like playing now?
Yeah, I'm guessing it would be a little high on the AAV.
Yeah, begin $40-50 million a year minimum, even in the late stage of his career.
I wish he didn't I mean, there's many things he probably shouldn't have done, but when he ran into that,
the divot,
yeah, that was the beginning of the.
It was the beginning of the end.
Yeah,
everybody has them. Everybody has their peaks and their valleys.
And producer wanted to include this quote purely for Mike's commentary.
Oh boy.
American editor and author William F. Buckley.
Aren't I going to be allowed to guess what?
Oh shoot!
What
sorry.
year?
See, I usually don't do dead and alive. So
well, it's okay. So I know it's about Buckley. Give me the year.
He passed away on this day at the age of 82 in 2008.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that.
Yeah.
My commentary. I'm sorry, William Buckley.
Yes.
Whatever there is that's conservative in the United States, let's forget conservative, is reactionary in the United States, is there because of Buckley. I mean, he fought what was a at the time looked like a lonely and hopeless battle. And, 20 years after the Sharon Accords, right, the Sharon Statement, right, which was a, conservative sort of seminal document, Ronald Reagan was elected president. If you had asked the guys in Sharon, Connecticut that day, they would have figured it's going to take us 50 years to get a guy like Reagan. It took them 20. It took them 20. And then, 25 years after that, 25, whatever it was, they got Trump, right, who governs as a populist, but really has kind of a very strong conservative vibe to him, right? So
Buckley reminds me a little of Tucker.
He reminds me a little of George Will. He's not. He wasn't my particular cup of tea, but his intellectual ferocity and his willingness to brawl.
Yeah, it was the original Crossfire.
He was.
Guy,
he
right?
was. Yeah, well,
Did you ever watch those Gore Vidal debates?
Yes, where he
I watched them in their entirety, and they were fascinating.
Of course they were, because he.
Yeah.
Those were two fairly significant intellects who had both had the street brawler mentality.
Yeah, but they were both very, very sort of high class.
Yes, they were
country club types.
Yeah,
and stuff like
the
that.
funny thing is, you look at Gore Vidal and you think, how could Al Gore be related to this guy?
Yeah,
Al Gore's a moron. This guy is like, I don't agree with Gore Vidal about everything, but he had some intellectual power.
I'll suck you right in your face.
There was more to that.
Yeah, I know. I can't put it on. I can't put that on the podcast. All right, we have a rare earth deal. We have a deal with Ukraine.
Yeah,
for their rare earths. Ukrainian publisher claims to have released the full. This is from Breitbart. The full text of the alleged Ukraine rare earth mineral deal ahead of expectations that President Volodymyr Zelensky will sign it on Friday, tomorrow, revealing language stopping short of the security guarantees demanded, but nevertheless establishing a clear future interest for the United States in the country's well-being. The U.S. and Ukraine agreed on the text of an initial framework for a mineral rights deal, which has a whole bunch of, language about investing and this and that and the other. But here's the thing. I haven't read it yet because I just found this today, but isn't 40% of the rare earths in the Russian occupied region?
Oh, I don't know.
Of Ukraine?
Is it?
I believe the mother lode, if you will,
is
in those areas. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing
how this all gets played
out. But it does reaffirm my comments last week about how Ukraine is basically America's playground.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. The other thing is, as one of those stories about the mineral thing was, I was reading it, and the Europeans are like, we need a secure. We have for 30,000 peacekeepers, right? We're going to put in Ukraine, but we need an absolute American security guarantee. I'm like, how is this different than just letting Ukraine into NATO? I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? If we're going to do that, we might as well just let them in and take all their stuff. It's just. The Europeans are like 22-year-olds. They want to be treated like adults, but they still want to live in your basement.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. We'll get into Europe in a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Epstein files apparently are on their way to public release. According to AG Bondi, she is going to release some of the Epstein
Yeah, if you notice, this thing has been whittled down over the last couple of weeks. I have been watching this with some interest. Yeah. She's like, have them all on my desk, going to sign them. This was like 2 weeks ago. And now it's like, we're going to definitely get to some of those at some point.
It's terrible. It's just terrible what's in there. It's terrible. This and Fort Knox.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell. Do we hear more about that this week?
No, we're going to see the gold. We're going to see the gold. Where's the gold? We need to make sure the gold's in there. The JFK stuff that is supposed to be released, which hasn't, these all are starting to feel like Al Capone's vault to me.
The Canadian tariffs?
No, I think that's happening.
That's not happening.
March 4th.
That's not happening.
That's what he said.
It's not happening.
Full speed ahead.
We'll get the Epstein. We'll get the Epstein.
Epstein.
We'll get the Epstein files before we get the tariffs on Canadians.
Anyway, can't wait to read those. Very excited.
Which one? The tariffs or the who?
Well, I wanna know if we've got the gold. I want to read JFK's assassination, and I want to read the Epstein files. I'm so excited for all of them. I can't wait.
That's pretty simple. We have the gold. It was an inside job, and everybody is guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have that vibe, right? You're just like, this is going to be bad when it happens.
Okay, I got a scoop. I don't know if you heard this. This is from the Federalist.
I mean, let me ask you a question. What's the point of being a rich and powerful person if you can't jet off to a weird island?
Let's leave it at that.
Right?
It's just all.
I mean, it's like a fringe benefit, right? Of being a rich dude.
It's all creep show.
It is really creepy.
This is not creepy.
Yes.
This is from the Federalist. Trump to tap Democrat lawfare target Jeff Clark as White House regulation czar.
The OIRA thing?
President Trump is expected to tap Jeffrey Clark as White House regulation czar in the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs.
Yeah, he's going to run OIRA.
An associate administrator of OIRA, Clark would work under the recently confirmed Office of Management Budget Director Russ Vought.
I have to be honest with you. OIRA is the worst job to have in this administration because you're not going to do anything.
Well, they don't have to review anything.
That's right.
Slashing them all.
That's
anyway,
right. You're not. You're going to sit at your desk and hope something happens.
Wait, what about me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Jeff Clark.
let's try a thought experiment for 10 seconds. Who ran OIRA in the first term?
I don't remember.
Neither do I.
I wish that someone would have run OIRA in the first term.
Yeah, me too. But
he passed on it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
can we just say Phil Kerpen?
No. Sure.
Phil Kerpen.
Anyway, Clark, as you know, was the Assistant Attorney General for the Environment and Natural Resources Division, and got ensnared in the J6 stuff because he had the audacity to write a memo. So, which was never released, by the way.
So is the memos that kill you, kids?
Yeah. This came out this morning from the Washington Post. Trump says he's ending Venezuela oil deal. The United States is rescinding a Treasury Department license allowing Chevron to produce and export oil from Venezuela, despite U.S. sanctions, President Trump said Wednesday, because President Nicolas Maduro was not legitimately elected and has not accepted Venezuelans deported from this country fast enough. So essentially, let me read Trump's quote. The regime has not been transporting the violent criminals that Venezuela sent into our country, the good old USA, back to Venezuela at
Can
the
I stop you
rapid
for a second?
pace
Did he
that they
really
had
say the
agreed
good old
to.
USA?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
While he did not mention Chevron, he said that we're hereby reversing the concessions that crooked Joe Biden gave to Venezuela on the oil transaction dated November 26, 2022. My understanding from the article is that it simply means that the Treasury Secretary would not extend the license, which ends on March 1st. But Chevron has 6 months to, quote, wind down. So the theory is that this is yet another negotiating tactic to for whatever reason. I don't know.
Oh, I know.
So what do you got on that?
I don't know. I'm trying to think if I can make more money selling it to customers or saying it here.
Just say it here.
Yeah, seriously.
We're not monetizing this thing after all.
It's terrible. You should listen to this stuff just for like the 1 or 2 sentences I give up every week that are gold. I anticipate the Venezuelan oil assets are going to be in different hands in not too far away future.
In different hands, meaning a different leader?
No.
You're going to leave it at that?
Yep.
All right. To be continued. I want to play a clip to set up this next article, if you don't mind.
Some people wrongly view energy as like a sector of the economy. It's not a sector. It's the sector of the economy that enables every other sector.
He understands that energy is the key. It's the key to American prosperity, but it's also the key to us solving these wars abroad. The core underlying product that we need for every industry is going to be more intelligence manufactured here in the U.S. with our sources. So one of the things that Chris and I are working on every day is how do we get more electricity built in this country, delivered in this country, and then how do we get the price of that electricity down for our citizens?
That was, of course, the dream team of Secretary Wright and Secretary Burgum.
Oh, okay. I couldn't write. I didn't write as a second guy. Yeah.
And I played that clip for you because the very last line of how are we going to lower electricity costs for our citizens.
Yes.
And of course, you recall that President Trump promised to lower them by
half,
50%.
I'm not sure I'd have made that promise, but yes, he did.
But our friend Travis is trying to help him out, as you know. His argument is, well, he's going to prevent the projected doubling of electricity prices.
Okay.
And therefore, he's reducing them by 50%.
It's the Gulf of America answer with respect to electricity prices.
But I want to read this article from Fox News. Kathy Hochul does apparent about face on natural gas as New York City utility signals major rate hikes. Hochul's administration approved permits to expand capacity on a major gas pipeline.
The Iroquois.
The permits would expand capacity in the Iroquois pipeline near the border with Cornwall, Ontario, etc. The move comes as the State Department of Environmental Conservation admitted the approvals are inconsistent with statewide greenhouse gas emission limits in recent years, according to the New York Post. So everyone is saying, oh, wow, look, Governor Hochul is approving pipelines. But the part that no one is paying attention to, or at least I don't think so, is that Con Ed, the main utility provider in New York City and the Hudson Valley, is planning to implement an 11.5% increase in electric rates and 13% increase in gas rates, amounting to about $500 per year, unless the New York Public Service Commission intervenes. The PSC is already under pressure from Hochul to audit the salaries of Con Ed executives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here's what's going on. The president has little to no ability to lower electricity rates because the fact that these rates are determined at the state level by the public utility commissions. And as in this example, in a lot of other states, particularly blue states in the Northeast and the West Coast and everything else, these rates are climbing rapidly. They are granting these rate increases everywhere in these states. And so if we don't get a hold of that somehow, they're just going to keep climbing up. And the culprit, of course, is renewables.
So we've seen this show before, right? So this is not like something, hey, I wonder how this ends. I wonder where this story goes. This is what happened to the German system. Right, because it's not a one-to-one, but pretty much for every megawatt of capacity that you put on a system that's from wind or solar, batteries are a different thing, but they're so de minimis, it's not really relevant. You more or less have to back it up with a megawatt of generation capacity that's dispatchable.
Systems.
Yeah, you essentially double-deck your system, which is why, by the way, the Germans, who are about 10 years ahead of us on this train, right, have electricity that's 35 cents per, right? 36 cents per. It's why they don't have the steel industry, their car industry, their chemicals industry are all having trouble because they're not competitive with respect to electricity, right? Especially in the third world where electricity is going off, at 8 cents per, right? United States average price, I want to say 12 cents, something like that. But in places like California, you're starting to nudge into 30-cent range, right? It's not the utilities' fault. They're responding to state mandates to install renewable power. I'll give you a super specific example. Dominion's asked for, I think, 2 or 3 rate increases. Dominion in Virginia has asked for 2 or 3 rate increases in the last couple of years, 4 or 5 years. they're responding to the Virginia Clean Energy Act. Thank you. I knew I'd get it right. That also told them to build an $8 billion offshore wind project, right? And I'm not saying states shouldn't do that. States have rights to make decisions. You want to do something like that, you should be able to do something like that. But it's going to lead you to the same places that led the Germans, and it's leading the Californians, and it's leading everybody. And Kathy Hochul, unless she's a complete dunce, she understands this. I think she understands this. I don't think she's a complete dunce. I mean, she's from Buffalo, but
easy killer.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's a problem, but not for me. Well, it is because I live in Virginia. But if you don't live in one of the affected states, you're fine. And you got to get rid of these. Whatever.
These rates are climbing everywhere. In Texas too, they're putting surcharges on electricity bills because to pay for those 1 or 2 days where gas prices spiked like 1,000, 2,000% or whatever.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, right? Texas was one of the first states to break out and do their own state ISO, right? To break up the vertical monopoly of the utilities. They're also the first state to invest in wind power heavily, right? Rick Perry did the CREZ project, which at the time I was like, this is great. And now we're down into the middle of it, and it doesn't look as great.
Let's talk about that for a second in the context of permitting, quote unquote, permitting reform.
Sure.
The PTC and ITC drive the investment in the production of the windmills and solar panels. What you talked about was a state subsidy to build the high voltage transmission from where the wind blows in Sweetwater to where the people live in Dallas, and Fort Worth, and other places. That is exactly what the feds want to do.
Yes.
In quote permitting reform.
Yes.
Is subsidize the transmission.
Well, it's what the last round of permitting reform wanted to do. It's what the Manchin-Barrasso version of permitting reform would have done, was essentially create a federal permitting subsidy for those folks, right?
Yeah, but they're not going to come to the table unless that's still on the table.
There's no way any Republican ever is going to support that, except for maybe a couple of staffers for Senator Barrasso who were carried away by their enthusiasm for a deal.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. But could you get one through the House?
Two major points here. One is whatever the president does with respect to energy, electricity, and everything else, unless and until we kill the PTC, ITC, and unless and until some of these states start backing away from this stuff, this is going to be a consistent. This is the reason our electricity rates are as high as they are.
That's right. It's simple. It's incredibly simple. It's not a complicated mechanism. You're having to basically build twice as much capacity as you need, and you have to pay for it. It's just that simple. And some of that capacity is wind, and some of it's solar, and some of it's natural gas, because you have to, but it's all, you're building twice as much as you need, and that's just that. And
my friends in Buffalo are paying through the nose as a result.
I don't care. You're dopey enough to live in New York. You get what you deserve. The one thing I would say before we leave the topic, there's a thought in the land that Mr. Trump, as part of his national energy emergency, could somehow invalidate the state mandates, including the net zero goals. I have no idea how that would work as a practical matter. I really don't, because unless you're prepared to send the National Guard
back
in
to
there,
basics, federalism.
right? I'm
not sure that's consistent with the concept.
Right, exactly. So
I appreciate his thought there, because these things are horrible. And
I think everybody's trying to think of, how do we fix this thing? And the answer is, and this is an answer Americans hate, it's unfixable without other people coming along with you on this intellectual ride, which is why when Governor Hochul signed off on the Iroquois expansion, I thought, okay, maybe she started to understand how this actually works.
Yes and no. I think she's
Well, on the other hand,
doesn't have much of a choice.
On the other hand, Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, he's barking about high prices. So what does he do? He signs a deal to build more wind power. I'm like, I'm not sure you're understanding the mechanics of how a grid works, dude.
Exactly. Speaking of Europe will never learn, this came across my inbox. Do you remember Amy Harder, former Wall Street Journal reporter? Now
I understand. I remember
the breakthrough.
I remember she was a big. Dan Kish was a big fan of hers. Yes, I remember.
Anyhow, she has this publication that she puts out called Cypher. And she focused on an article, Europe races to boost industry as Trump, climate, and geopolitics loom. European leaders laid out on Wednesday a much-awaited plan that seeks to resuscitate its ailing industrial base by boosting domestic clean tech manufacturing and alleviating high energy prices. In the work since last year, the plan is taking on heightened security as the continent reels from actions by the United States, ranging from the Russian war in Ukraine to tariffs. The EU's executive arm announced the roadmap called the, quote, Clean Industrial Deal. As regions, industrial production has been trending down over the last couple of years. I think it's been more than a couple of years.
It's been a decade now.
Sparking urgency to reverse the trend. Notably, the plan aims to bring climate action and competitiveness under one growth strategy.
So many words. So many words. They just don't mean anything.
Our vision for Europe is to lead a clean manufacturing power. Teresa Ribera, the Commission's executive vice president in charge of the clean transition, said during a press conference
Just stop
Wednesday,
for a second and think about that.
We think the Clean Industrial Deal is a long-lasting proposal to keep Europe as an attractive hub for traditional businesses, industries, and accelerating new technologies and circular business models that can compete worldwide.
My God, it's like they're all faculty members at Columbia. It's ridiculous, man. None of these people have ever held a real job in their lives. And I say that as a lobbyist, for God's sake. You want to know what their
first order of business is?
I assume to reduce their dependence on coal and oil or something.
No, close. To provide industry with immediate access to capital.
Oh, boy.
The commission committed to mobilize 105 billion euros in the short term for EU-made clean manufacturing, which will put funds for several existing programs. So let's dissect this a little.
No, please.
Clean climate action and competitiveness are diametrically opposed goals.
Actually, they're really not. I mean, the reality of it is competitiveness, legitimate competitiveness, not competitiveness, which means like government picks this stuff. Legitimate competitiveness, you would have more efficient energy systems over time, right? And that would mean you'd have
more with less.
You'd have fewer emissions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's easy, but the idea that like somehow the government's going to give you a clean industrial deal and it's going to work out okay?
Yeah, they're layering yet another massive
just a disaster
central planning document on top of the
I write this column twice a year, and when I hit send, I always regret it, but then I always realize I probably was too gentle. And the column's, thesis statement is always the same. Europe is dying. It's just dying. It's a dying continent.
But they've got a clean industrial
and
deal.
That kind of stuff is why they're dying, because nobody ever gets up.
It's called an industrial deal. You're either going to do it or you're not.
Nobody ever just says, is that what we really need? Yeah. Do we really need more government involvement? Do I really need an executive vice president for a clean industrial deal?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need that guy, woman, whoever.
Europe will never learn.
Sure they will. The Russians will reform them once they take over.
Speaking of Europe,
and
the UK
Russians
in particular, I want to play this little clip first to set us up.
In a world where energy demand is growing and changing, we're doing what BP has done for more than a century. We build, grow, learn, adapt constantly. And now we're resetting. A Reset BP is reallocating capital for growth, reducing costs, and high-grading our portfolio, aiming to grow cash flow and returns. A Reset BP is growing our upstream, producing more oil, more gas, and disciplined biogas expansion. Focusing our downstream, reshaping our portfolio, improving reliability, and selectively investing in biofuels and EV charging. Making disciplined investments in the transition with capital-light partnerships in renewables and focused investments in hydrogen and carbon capture. A Reset BP plays to our strengths as an integrated energy company. With our distinctive advantages in trading, technology, and global partnerships, with the portfolio and the people to win.
Oh, man. That's a good PR firm right there. I like it.
Well, they're reinventing themselves yet again with a fundamentally reset strategy with significant capital reallocation and plans to drive improved performance.
We're going to spend more on oil and gas and less on EVs and biofuels.
But did you know they had like careful and selective,
selective investment,
light capital,
like I said, it's a good PR firm. The propaganda is very high level.
Yeah.
Very, very smooth.
So BBC quoted out, BBC did a story on this. BP will announce it will cut its renewable energy investments and instead of focus on increasing oil and gas production.
Good.
Cut through the
Hey, I'm sorry, what does BP stand for anyhow?
Used to be British Petroleum.
I assume it's British Petroleum again.
It was beyond petroleum, so.
And now it's beyond parody. So
yeah, the real question here is: will they survive, or will they get bought, or is this an attempt to present themselves to be bought? Because they're hemorrhaging; they're not doing well. I hear rumors that like Total might be interested.
But the British aren't going to give the British aren't going to give their oil company to the French.
I'm sure that's the case.
They might give it to us.
I don't. Would any of us want it? Would
you and me
deal with the UK?
You and me. I think I would do it.
You would do it?
Absolutely.
All right, fair enough.
If somebody's got $30 billion out there with doing nothing, I'd do it. I mean,
yeah. So the numbers are they're going to increase their oil and gas investments by 20% to $10 billion a year, and they're going to drop their renewables by more than $5 billion. So back to petroleum.
Yeah, they're obviously not in on this clean industrial deal and thing.
Did EIA get the memo? Did they get the Trump memo? That's what I want to know.
Why do you ask this question?
Because they released a brief earlier this week. Planned retirements at U.S. coal-fired electric generating capacity to increase in 2025.
Yeah.
Electricity generators plan to retire 12.3 gigs of capacity in 2025, a 65% increase in retirements compared with 2024. Last year, 7.5 gigs were retired from the power grid. The least generation retired since 2011, according to data reported to us in our latest inventory of electric generators. I don't think that's going to be
a good answer.
I don't think that's going to be the right answer.
Yeah. So here's the problem. Here's what's driving these things. Most of them is long-dated consent decrees from 20 years ago or 10 years ago, right? And consent decrees that would everyone have to go back and get all the parties to be okay with. In a lot of cases, what happened with the consent decrees is once you sign a consent decree, you stop modernizing the plant. So we got a bunch of plants that are,
so they might have no choice.
Right. The last time they saw an environmental upgrade was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's hard to explain to people why you need to keep running them. That said, I expect the next 12 months we are going to have a really energetic attempt on the part of generators to
save these plants.
Yes. To get the Trump guys to do something on the consent decree side.
You can just blame the administration. My hands were tied.
Yeah. Well, the administration has the ability under 202C. That is a limitless authority. They can it's 90 days, right? You got to re-up it every 90 days. Could you imagine these guys re-up in 90 days for 4 years? I can.
Sure.
That
would be like normal compared to some of the stuff going on.
Exactly. well within the Federal Power Act. It's right there. I could do it, but it's a serious problem. One last thing on this, right? Tristan Abbey was nominated.
He's the incoming.
He's the incoming. Yeah, he hasn't been confirmed yet, I don't think.
No.
He's going to be great.
Absolutely.
He's been pointed his whole life towards this job. He's going to be great
absolutely.
at it.
He has my full endorsement.
Unlike the partial endorsements I give to other people.
In all caps. My complete and full endorsement.
I'm a little concerned about this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it's not like we got a lot of replacement power sitting there ready to go.
That's right. And we don't want people to die when it's too hot or too cold.
Right.
So, Tesla shares fell 45% in Europe amid Musk's political meddling.
Dropping his net worth to $320 billion.
Yes. According to Bloomberg, Tesla Inc.'s sales plunged 45%, where rival car makers saw a surge in electric vehicle demand. The Elon Musk-led company registered only 9,945 cars in January, down from 18,161 a year ago, according to the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. EV sales soared 37% for the overall industry, with car makers posting big gains in Germany and the UK. Tesla shares fell 8.4% on Tuesday in New York, sending the company's market value back below $1 trillion. Now, of course, they're like, oh, yeah, he's meddling in Europe's affairs and the German parliament, and everyone hates Tesla now because Elon Musk's a demon and devil. But I looked at the chart of month over month since 2023.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Just take a look at it. It's like every other month, the sales go down, and then the month after, it might have something to do with consumers' buying habits.
I was going to say that's a reliably predictable sine curve right there.
So, I mean, I don't understand why they didn't dig a little deeper on that, other than they wanted the headline.
Reporters are lazy.
I mean, literally, like last month it was way up, and then this month it's way down. The month before it was down. The month before that it was up. It's like
you should at least
it bounces back. You should smooth up and down every other month.
You should smooth the curve. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. But you're right. I don't think Elon's going to be concerned about the $100 billion that he lost this
week. What is he? 50 years old? 52 years old? Something like that. I mean, you could probably retire now with what he's got in the bank.
You think? Well, I saw in the New York Times 2 days ago that Greenpeace is going to court in a $300 million suit that poses bankruptcy risk. Oh, I would be so sad. In a closely watched case, the owner of the Dakota Access Pipeline is claiming the environmental group mastermind protests that hurt the company's business.
Oh, this is this RICO thing.
Greenpeace went on trial on Monday in North Dakota in a bombshell lawsuit that, if successful, could bankrupt the storied group. I don't know if I would use that as an adjective to describe them. The Dallas-based energy company Energy Transfer sued Greenpeace in 2017. Accusing it of masterminding raucous protests over the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. You remember the Standing Rock Sioux reservation and all that good stuff. I think AOC was out there doing her thing. Quote, this trial is a critical test of the future of the First Amendment, both freedom of speech and peaceful protest under the Trump administration and beyond. Yeah, I'm not sure how peaceful those protests were. I saw them with my eyes. Energy Transfer declined to comment in advance of the trial. In a statement in August, it said the lawsuit was not about free speech, as they are trying to claim. It's about them not following the law. Jury selection began on Monday, and the trial is scheduled to last 5 weeks at the state court in Mandan, North Dakota. Many observers are skeptical that Greenpeace, one of the most well-known environmental activist groups in the world, will be able to win over the jury.
In Mandan?
Yeah, in Mandan, North Dakota.
In Mandan?
Yes, sir. In Mandan.
And the Greenpeace guys didn't try to get that thing moved?
I don't know what they tried or didn't try to do. But...
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you a little shaky about North Dakota geography, let me help you. Mandan is a refinery town. Good luck getting a jury there. That's gonna. Good luck to Greenpeace
So,
on getting a jury there.
I want to say that I applaud Energy Transfer for this.
I think it's fun. I'm kind of.
I think it's fantastic.
Kind of curious to see how
someone,
it goes. Push back.
is trying to push back on these.
I'm not opposed to it.
Bullies.
Not opposed to it.
Like I've always said, you can protest, but when you start trashing people's property, you start defacing things, violence, all that stuff. So anyway, we'll be following this pretty closely.
Same with Lower Manhattan, by the way.
Look forward to getting highlights on that thing.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be good. That should be a good 5
for
weeks.
Energy Transfer. Thank you very much.
Mandan. Wow. Okay.
All right, I'm done with energy.
Yeah,
I'm all out of energy.
Me too. It's a function of age, though. But
I will give you a couple more, and then we can get the heck out of here.
Sure, man. You got a place to be.
This is from Newsweek.
Yes.
Succession movements now in 12 U.S. states. There are currently secessionist movements active in 12 U.S. states campaigning either for full independence, to form new states, or to merge with an existing state, according to a quote-unquote self-determination advocate. Grant Dahl, co-host of the Successionary Speakeasy podcast, made the claim.
How come we can't do something cool like that?
Published by the Texas National Movement, which is campaigning for the Lone Star State to become an independent country. Dahl listed secessionist campaigns that he claimed were active in all or part of Oregon, Illinois, Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, New Hampshire, Louisiana, California, Washington, Minnesota, New York, and Pennsylvania. So
Pennsylvania. Well, who the hell wants to secede? Where are they going to go?
I don't
Maryland? New York? Where the hell are you going to go in Pennsylvania?
Their own island.
Going to go to New Jersey?
The most recent Illinois separation referendum movement is pushing for a referendum on separating the liberal-leaning Cook County, which includes Chicago, from the rest of the state. So,
yeah, Southern Illinois should go somewhere because they are not getting a good shake out of Illinois.
Yeah, they want to go to Indiana.
I'm not sure that's a great answer, but whatever.
So anyway, Eastern California, Western California.
You may be asking the wrong guy here.
No, I'm asking you because I know that you have.
I'm just going to tell you that in 1860, all the states who left voted to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the federal government reacted to that.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So,
But again, we talk about these parallels a lot on the Unregulated podcast, right?
Yeah, we do.
There's a lot of frustration out there.
Here's my parallel.
Red to blue, red to blue.
Federal government ultimately doesn't care about your vote. It wants to make sure that you stay part of it and keep sending those taxes in.
Sending those checks.
Keep sending those checks in, boys.
But we're going to get a big, beautiful bill, so you're going to lower your taxes.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just say yes to that.
By the way, Governor DeSantis wants to end property taxes in Florida, which I'm all for, quite frankly. So, I don't know where they're going to get their
money,
revenue. So
you have a sales
maybe that's the point.
You have a sales
It's not that high.
You have an income tax.
No.
You have an estate tax after somebody croaks.
I don't know. I haven't done the research there.
I bet you have a bunch.
Plan to live for a few more years.
I bet you have a bunch of small ones like a commercial real estate tax and stuff like that.
Yeah, they could tax the hell out of Disney and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but you can't run a state government.
All I know is I'm all for it.
Yeah, I know.
And the other DeSantis news, I don't know if you've seen this now, this little battle, another battle between President Trump and Ron DeSantis.
This might be one where the governor has an advantage.
So Byron Donalds was preemptively endorsed by President Trump this week.
Last week,
to which DeSantis was asked what he thought of it, and he said, I think maybe members of Congress should get some work done instead of running around and campaigning for office.
Good for him.
And then I believe he floated another
DeSantis
as
his
a
wife,
potential
Casey
successor.
Yeah, my only beef with that is she's got some trouble returning phone calls.
Yeah.
That's a fairly well-known problem in that world.
Yeah, you need to return phone calls if you're
man, exactly. You're going to do this.
100%.
Yes.
You're going to be living on that telephone.
So if I was giving advice to that campaign,
pick up the phone.
I maybe at some point.
me.
Yeah, just make a list of the 300 phone calls you haven't returned in the last year.
Get them returned.
Yeah, get them returned.
All right. Well, more hubbub, more shakeup at the Bezos Post.
Yeah, I don't understand this.
This is from,
I saw it, but I don't understand
straight
it.
from the horse's mouth in a tweet
Lawrence,
yesterday.
Lawrence Sanchez said,
Lord Bezos said, I shared this note with the Washington Post team this morning. I'm writing to let you know about a change coming to our opinion pages. We're going to be writing every day in support and defense of two pillars.
Yeah.
Personal liberties and free markets. We'll cover other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others. And of course, he offered the current head of the editorial board, David Shipley, who he greatly admires, the opportunity to lead this new chapter, and he said, sayonara.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a flood of folks exited in the Post for a while now. I had a whatever.
As part of the overhaul, the Post will publish daily opinion stories on two editorial pillars: personal liberties and free markets.
I'm willing to. You know what?
I'm confident that free markets and personal liberties are the right for America.
Yeah,
I believe these viewpoints are underserved in the current market of ideas and new opinions, and I'm excited for us together to fill that void. Producer, let's write an op-ed. Let's get it going.
Seriously, there's got to be hundreds.
Since we exist.
I had the same thought.
On the sole purpose of free markets. Let's test this theory out.
That's exactly what I thought too. I'm like, I'm gonna write my best column and send it to this guy and go, there you go, boys.
And of course, Jennifer Rubin, the competition out there, she missed the opportunity to be one of the principal writers about free markets and personal liberties.
I got to say this real quickly about this. I would point out that my friends at the Washington Times have been writing about personal liberties and free markets
for 50 years now.
Yeah, since before Jeff Bezos was trying to destroy the country. So just wanted to get a little commercial in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad that Lawrence Sanchez's boyfriend doesn't think that this is served enough. I don't like that guy.
I've talked to a couple people about this week.
And
I think that I've talked to a bunch of reporters this week about a certain topic that suddenly manifested itself out of nowhere, seemingly.
Yes.
And I end up getting a quote in the Washington Post, and my friends at Bloomberg were like, dude, why are you talking to them? Anyway, but the point is, I don't think it matters anymore. There was a time when you wanted to be quoted in the New York Times or the Washington Post.
Oh, who cares?
And I could care less.
It doesn't matter. It's
none of it matters. There's so much content.
Democratization of content.
Yes.
Yeah. The idea you got gatekeepers is nonsense.
Yeah.
All you got is web keepers, website keepers. And for the most part, they only care about one thing. Eyeballs. The rest of it's chit chat. Yeah.
Right.
They don't care about the rest of it.
That's right.
Which is healthy, I think.
I think so too.
I will say one thing that I had a Post reporter call me the other day, and I texted him back. I was like, "Is Taylor Lorenz still working at the Post?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I can't talk to you guys."
Yeah, perfect. Good for you, man.
She's in favor of murdering people.
Yeah,
I mean, that has to be out of
There's
bounds.
A line
don't you think?
Draw here. Yeah. All right, I've got a tweet of the week and a wrap. So the floor is yours. And before we do depart, I do want to make one other comment I forgot in the announcements.
Okay, I want to thank. I'm very, very seriously and truly grateful to everybody who was kind enough to say something nice on the occasion of my birthday. That was nice. And to my 3 siblings who missed it, you guys are.
Oh man!
To my 3 siblings who missed it, you guys are dead to me.
I got a coaster here that Mike McKenna was gifted by the producer. It says, I have 2 moods. 1, namaste. 2, I'll cut you.
There's a reason why these sit here on the table.
I want to get this one out because I want to end on a lighter note. I want to give a mention to my cousin Jerry, who I spent every day with for the first 15 or so years of my life. We were inseparable brothers, not cousins. And he's going through some major stuff with his health. He's stable and recovering and praying every minute that he'll get through this. But I love you, Jerry, and I hope that you heal, my friend. So, and I'll just leave it at that for now.
It's good to have family.
All right, tweet of the week.
Yeah.
From a guy named Matt Fortuna, who encapsulates very well I've been giving this a lot of thought this past week when you threw this bombshell at me about the no beard deal.
Yeah.
So Jesus Christ had long hair and a beard, Piniella told Steinbrenner.
That would be Lou Piniella.
Why can't we have beards and long hair? The Yankee owner showed him a small pond beyond the outfield fence. You see that pond? Steinbrenner said. Walk across that pond and you can have a beard and long hair.
George Steinbrenner may have been the greatest American of the 20th century.
I love him more and more. I don't understand what his son is doing. It's just mind-numbing. And here's what bothers me about this. This is the thought I gave to it.
Yeah.
This is yet another example of pathetic actions that this ownership team is taking to deflect.
Yeah, that they're terrible.
Deflect from the fact that they are not making good decisions about the people that go out into the field every day and win championships.
Yeah, they're bad at what they do.
That this is somehow preventing someone from being a New York Yankee. I'm really upset about this thing.
So am I. The Steinbrenner thing's obvious. People just don't want to see it. The kid obviously didn't like the old man. And he's working on dismantling his legacy 1 year at a time. That's what, that's what's going on here.
Yeah. By the way, the captain said he will not be donning facial hair.
No, of course not. Don't be ridiculous.
So, which I thought was excellent.
I mean, he can't play a damn in the playoffs, but he's got standards.
Yeah. And hopefully, Stanton can grow a beard. I don't care. He's not going to play for like the first 4 months of the year again. But as long as he's in tip-top shape for the playoffs, that's it. We have been that contract is now a 2-month-a-year contract.
I was going to say, Stan will shave for the September and October, and that'll be it. Yeah.
And hit bombs. And I'm done. Speaking of bombs, I've got to close, and then we can wrap this up.
Close her up.
All right, here we go.
What goes through your mind when you see this? You're here. You're now seeing it up close.
It's not only seeing it, Alex. You can smell it. You can feel it, right? So it's seeing it with our eyes, and many people have seen it. You all are covering it. But to literally be on the ground here, you can smell the smoke that was here. You can feel the toxicity, frankly, of the environment. You can feel the energy of all of the folks who are still here on the ground.
I can't get away from her.
Seriously,
I can't leave her.
You got to quit her, Tom. You got to quit her.
I can't quit her.
She's nobody.
Much.
She's a private citizen now. She's minding her own business.
I'm
sorry. Where was this?
She was on the ground in Southern California.
Oh, the fires,
the wildfires. Yeah. And this was in the morning, so she couldn't have had that much wine.
Yeah, seriously, not enough to drink. Too much to drink.
All right. Well, that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We conclude with the future governor of the state of California on this here 219th episode of the Unregulated podcast. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.
Namaste.